Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you another book tag, and the tag that I'm going to do today is the rapid fire book tag. So let's get into today's video. The first question is paperbacks or hardbacks. I prefer to buy hardbacks because they are a bit easy to maintain. They are expensive, I know that. I don't own many hardbacks as you can see in my shelf, but I prefer hardbacks compared to paperbacks. Question number 2. Physical books or ebooks. I'd always prefer physical books over any other format because they are the ones which feel like books in our hands, and I can grab hold of them, and the feel that an actual physical book gives you while reading cannot be compensated by any other format. Question number 3. Online or in-store book shopping. I always prefer online book shopping because it is rather less time consuming, and also we get these great deals only online, and most of the books which I own as fresh copies are always online purchase books because they are so easy to purchase, and they are also so cheap. Question number 4. Series or trilogies. I always prefer series over trilogies because the number of books is always good, and we also get to spend a lot more time in the world and also experience the characters as they are for a longer time compared to trilogies or standalones. So I always prefer series. Question number 4. Series or trilogies. I always prefer series over trilogies because the number of books is always good, and we also get to spend a lot more time in the world and also experience the characters as they are for a longer time compared to trilogies or standalones. So I always prefer series. Question number 5. Heroes or villains. Heroes are good, but I prefer villains always because the backstories of villains are comparatively way more interesting compared to backstories of heroes, and also the villains are the people who keep us on the edge of our seat while we read a book rather than the heroes, because we always know that the hero is going to win at the end of a book, yet we read it. But the plot that is constructed by a villain, like the Darkling from the Grisha trilogy, they're always good, and I like villains compared to heroes in that aspect. Question number 6. A book you want everyone to read. I can say a lot of books if I have to say a book that everyone wants to read, but I'll go for a single book, which is Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo, because I think it deals with many social issues in a very good way, and it is also fantasy because I like fantasy, like you people don't know that, and everyone needs to read this book because she puts out so many social issues into a fantasy world, and it feels so real, so everyone needs to read this. Question number 7. Recommend an underrated book. If I have to recommend an underrated book, it will be Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, because I think this book is so much overshadowed by Gone Girl, which is so very good, but Sharp Objects is also good. It's not as good as Gone Girl, but it is a very good book to read. Question number 8. The last book you finished. The last book that I finished is An American Marriage by Tayari Jones, and I have a review coming up for it very shortly. You can watch out for it because it is a totally spoiler-free review, and I loved that book so much. Question number 9. The last book that I purchased. I didn't want to reveal this book because I was planning to do a book haul. Let it be there. And the last book which I bought is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. Now this is the first book in the Mistborn series, and this is the first era of the Mistborn series. You see how big it is. I'm planning to read this whole series within the end of this year. Let's see how it's going to go. Question number 10. Weirdest thing that you used as a bookmark. The weirdest thing that I used as a bookmark is probably my earphone, because always I wear my headphones while reading because I need some kind of music or total silence while I read, and I read more when I commute, and it is not at all silent then, so I just plug in my earphones and I listen to music, and I've used my earphones many times just for using it as a bookmark, and that is the weirdest thing which I have used as a bookmark. Question number 11. Used books, yes or no? I totally agree with buying used books because they are the things that can be lifesavers to us book nerds, and most of the books which I own in my bookshelf, nearly half of the books that I have here are used books, and I prefer bookstore while using my money to buy used books, and most of the used books that I buy are so pristine in condition, so I can maintain them, and they are also way too cheap compared to fresh copies of the same book. Question number 12. Top 3 favorite genres. My top 3 favorite genres are fantasy, as usual, first, and the next one is thriller, any kind of thriller if it is good. And the third one I can say is historical fiction, because I like to read things that are mostly related to real history rather than that which is created by people. Question number 13, borrow or buy books. I always prefer buying books. I don't ever borrow books, because if I own a book, it makes me feel to read it more compared to a book which I've borrowed from people. So I totally avoid borrowing books from people, and I try to lend books. I'm a bit stingy when it comes to lending books, but I do lend books to certain people who are so much trustworthy, and I always prefer buying books rather than borrowing books. Question number 14, characters or plot. I prefer characters compared to a plot, because even though a plot of a book is a bit boring and it is a bit predictive, I always go for the characters, because they are the people whom we can root and we can see our reflections in some characters in most books. And I'd always prefer a book that is character focused rather than plot focused. Question number 15, long or short books. This is a tough question, but the answer for me is easy, because I prefer longer books compared to shorter books, because they are the books which will make us read the same story for a longer time, and they'll have us invested in them compared to smaller books. And I also think the author has a much bigger space in order to convey his or her things to the reader in a big book compared to a small book. Question number 16, long or short chapters. This is going to be a paradox of an answer, because though I love reading longer or bigger books, I always prefer small chapters, because they are easy to get through, and if I get like 10 to 15 minutes time that is free, I can spend it to read a small chapter rather than reading a 40 or 50 page long chapter in like most books have. And if there are two books and there is a longer book which has shorter chapters and there is a longer book which has longer chapters, I prefer the shorter chapter book, because it is easy to get through and it can also drive me to read the book more. Question number 17, the first three books you can think of: Harry Potter, The Book Thief, and A Song of Ice and Fire, because they are behind me. Question number 18, books that made you laugh or cry. A book which made me laugh a lot is The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett, and a book which made me cry, it's Six of Crows, because it is a whirlpool of emotions. Question number 20, audiobooks, yes or no? Audiobooks are always a big yes for me, because I think audiobooks are just a very great way to kill time as well as get a lot of knowledge just by plugging in some earphones and just listening to them. You need not do anything, you just have to listen. Question number 21, our world or fictional worlds. I prefer our world, because it is real and it is not something that's not existing. There are things which exist here, and books exist in the real world, so I always prefer the real world compared to fictional worlds. Question number 22, do you ever judge a book by its cover? This is going to be a very sad truth, but I mostly judge books by their covers, because I tend to read books with beautiful covers faster compared to books that have a very nasty cover, and I always don't feel bad to spend a bit more on editions that have a better cover compared to editions which have a very bad looking or not so appealing cover. Question number 23, which do you prefer, book to movie or book to TV adaptations? Though I like the book to movie adaptations of Harry Potter very much, I always prefer book to TV adaptations, because the time for creating the story of a book is large in a TV series compared to that in a movie. Question number 24, a book that you consider better in a TV or movie format. For this, I'd go for the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. The books are a bit of a pain in the ass to get through because of the amount of description and the old language in the book, but the movies are so well made that they convey the exact story of the books in a very exclusive way possible. Question number 25, which is the final question in this book tag video, and it is, do you prefer standalones or series? I always prefer series, because of the reason which I said before. In a series, we get a lot more time to focus on characters and plot points and to expand the world. And as a reader, I'd prefer to stay in a world for a longer time if I love it, rather than spending a shorter time within that world just within a single book. So those were all my answers for the 25 questions in the rapid fire book tag. And if you did find this video enjoyable, do give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you'd like to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.